welcome back. We have, of course, Deborah Tavares here on hour number 2 on Mondays, and she is a bloodhound for finding bad news about what's really going on. Now, if you don't want to hear it, the most important thing to do is the off switch. Go away, turn it off, suffer, and die prematurely. But if you're like us, a patriot, and care about the human race, listen, take action, and survive and overcome. In fact, that's what God wants us to be, as overcomers. There's some really bad news here you have today, and I tell people the one most important thing is be sitting down and have your tray table in the locked and upright position with your intellectual seatbelt and shoulder straps on, because this is going to be overwhelming. So, Deborah, go for it.
Yes. Okay, Dr. Bill. Again, this is Deborah Tavares with StopTheCrime.net and PrimaryWater.org. Please sign up for our YouTube blast and our email blast. This is critical information. Things have amped up immensely, and we're rushing before the storm literally takes us all out. So, quickly, Argentina has created mandatory vaccination law in order to acquire passports, IDs, driver's licenses to go to school, and more.
Right.
I will let all of you look into this. It is being posted under Hot Topics on StopTheCrime.net. But
right.
So far, they're saying the mandatory vaccination applies only to children, and the new project will be made extensive also to adults.
Right.
And they go to say that the law of consensus, it was not a unanimous in all the houses. So, again, this is all run by the Delphi technique, the consensus method of the United Nations,
right.
pushing through laws and regulations through corporate structure.
Right.
So why I'm saying that is I'm leading into a very troubling story. Not that they're not all troubling, but I'm building into the larger story that I will get to here in a little bit in the program today. But
right.
what I want everybody to clearly understand is that our government is a network of corporations, and these corporate policies are designed to determine the minimum and optimum levels of destruction of life, property, and natural resources. All of these goals have been incrementally advanced as to not create a crisis in public confidence. So this is what we face. These are policies that have been put in. Push your mute button. I'm sorry, you're choking.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So anyway, we have to understand that the majority of people and offices and officials in the corporate agencies represent human compromise.
Right.
I underscore human compromise. Be it mind control, blackmailed, or greed, or lust for power and sex and pedophilia, it's all human compromise. So with that,
yeah, but the word corporation, by the way, is interesting. I just do a little aside to make people cry and laugh at the same time. Corp means like body, and if you're undead, if you're the undead, it's corporations. In other words, corporations which are undead bodies that can't die. They're like the undead, just like some of these miniseries I wrote now about the undead. And that's what we're dealing with. And these undead corporations basically are completely luciferic and satanic. And their agenda is ultimately to get rid of the ecosphere and to get rid of us.
Okay, so now
carbon-generating units, right?
Now we're going to talk about, yes, exactly, Dr. Bill. So now we're going to talk about a few specific things that you all need to understand. You know that a large portion of not only the United States, but the rest of the world is being assaulted with on-demand directed energy and weather weapons systems. On demand. We know that. So moving away from that understanding of our reality, we need to understand other aspects of the soft kill mechanism. And here's one right now, and listen carefully, and everyone's going to have to be on their toes about this one. This is being promoted through the Department of Energy in the United States, all behind the illusion of requiring us to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions and reduce our CO2 emissions. That is an illusion. So let's talk about what we have discovered. We have discovered that low E windows cause a dangerous reflection and cause fires. So this would be the green new energy requirements to reduce heat dissipating from our homes and heat coming in to our homes. let's talk about this a little more specifically.
So these e-windows actually generate enough heat they can start fires, dry out the surrounding environment, is what you're saying.
Well, what I'm going to tell you is exactly what we're being told here in these documents, and it's really diabolical. It's important to understand that the reflective coating can reflect a focused beam of light and melt different kinds of materials on the external side of your house, and it can start a fire. And I have specific firsthand information of such a situation, and I'm going to tell that story now.
Really?
I have a family member who lost their home a year ago in the October 2017 firestorm, directed energy weapon, and, of course, the smart meter involvement as well in Fountain Grove. Fortunately, they were able to buy a house. It was under construction at the time. The houses were finished. It's a development. I'm not sure how many houses are in this development. But just prior to this last Thanksgiving, when I was boarding a plane heading to Cuba, we had a red flag fire warning, and we were being told that we were in extreme fire risk. In fact, Pacific Gas and Electric was contemplating turning off the electricity. I want to throw in one more thing right here, right now.
Right.
The utilities are also deploying, and it's largely deployed throughout the country, all of the wireless water meters. Water will be turned off, too, during firestorms because there was no water accessibility in many of the fire zones as it was right now. So they'll say that it needs to be saved for the firefighting crews or for the infrastructure, but I'm throwing that out to everybody right now. I'm getting back into the windows.
Right.
So next door in the model home where this person bought and moved in to, they started to smell smoke. And Dr. Bill, they went outside and they found that the mulch that was to dress the grounds to make the place look attractive for potential buyers was on fire. The back wooden fence was starting to catch on fire, and the fire was blazing up the wooden posts that supported a wooden balcony on the second level. Immediately, the fire department was called. Sadly, they didn't get there for 20 minutes. Having said that, the neighbors manned garden hoses, including the neighbors in this area, most of which lost their homes in the October 2017 fire, were now faced with putting a fire out in the backyard of the model home. So the fire company finally arrived. The fire was already getting under the deck into the crawl space under the house. They had to tear off wood siding to put the fire out underneath the house.
What are the things triggered it off? Was it the smart grid on the house itself, or the step-down transformer we call the? No, Dr. Bill, no. This had everything to do with the low E windows. Really?
It magnified the heat on the mulch outside and set it on fire.
Wow.
So everybody that's listening, you need to understand that the Department of Defense, while requiring these low E windows that have gas, and they use a microscopically thin and virtually invisible metal or metallic oxidized layer that's incorporated in the glazing surface to control the heat transfer through the insulated windows. And they say to reduce the energy loss by 30% or 50%. But it's important to understand that the Department of Energy is pushing this more efficient window as a standard with low E windows as the forefront. And they
so in other words, if there's something outside, it's below the flash point of, say, mulch or twigs or anything like grass that falls on the window.
It
can burn the house down.
It burned a siding off of houses all over the country.
Wow.
I've seen a photograph where the beam was pulsed on someone's car, and it literally destroyed the car. We'll finish this conversation on the other side.
So in other words, the reflection off the window is strong enough to actually start a fire.
Yeah, I'll explain that in more detail when we return.
Whoa. That's serious. That's like a kid out playing with a magnifying lens in the backyard and starting a fire in the garden.
That's exactly right.
Same thing, basically.
This is a standard now.
Wow. Window thing, the questions I would ask, 'cause I never heard about this before, is number one, who researched to find out these were safe? Number two, why would they do it anyway if they know they aren't safe?
Well, that's
what's their agenda?
True, and they're doing it anyway because this is all part of the decimation that is underway, and of course the massive reduction of the plan to reduce the population in the United States alone by 83% by the year 2025. And we have to understand, as I said when we opened up the show, that we are a massive government network of corporations, and this is for our demise. So it's not about being safe. There have been reports now for quite some time that these windows start fires. You can just type in low E windows and fires, and you will see a cascading number of people that have been reporting this. But have you heard this on the news? No. You're hearing it now on the news. You haven't heard it yet, but you are now. So we need everyone's help to get this out, because it is another nefarious way in which to start fires, burn down neighborhoods in conjunction with the smart grid and all of the ionizing of the atmosphere. We're so combustible that you can feel it palpitates in the environment now when they're heavily chemtrailing over the designated burn areas. So let's talk about a little bit more about these windows so that you understand a little bit more about it. The low E windows feature an argon gas and are more prone to a curvature. And because over time argon escapes from the void between the panes, air molecules, which are bigger, it can't get in to replace the inert gas. But they say that the phenomenon also occurs in low E windows, with air between the panels of the windows. So what we're talking about are windows that literally start to get a curvature, a concave, and that creates a focus of sunlight. And we have proof, firsthand proof, that the reflected sunlight heats to the extent, like a magnifying glass, that it will start anything that it's beaming on fire.
Wow.
So we're going to have fires. We're going to have individual homes burned, property burned. If it's literally focus the beam on your parked car out front, we've seen a number of reports where it has burned cars up as well. Now, the fire department, in the instance of this home, it was a conclusion that it was the low E windows that started these fires. And the fire
was that by the fire department or the forensics of the insurance carrier that came by after the home burned down?
No. The forensics of the people that were right next door who nearly lost their house after realizing it was the windows. The fire department wrote in their report that it was a freak of nature. So far, the insurance companies are being addressed, and there's an attorney involved, which is, of course, going to...
You think the insurance carriers would want to know this, because if you can nail the liability, it cuts down their costs for insuring a building if the liability is actually the window manufacturer and the regulator, right?
With insurance companies and liability, because we know that insurance companies are part of the global banking.
Of course they are, but I'm just saying, if you don't assume that, you'll say, well, why don't the insurance carriers invest? They don't, because they're part of the problem.
That's exactly right. Exactly right. So what we're alerting everyone to right now is the reflections of the low E windows, and it is a product default, and it has not been taken off of the market. Builders are going to be unaware. We have rebuilding happening all over the country, again, from all of the weather weaponized loss of housing. We have new housing being built. We have housing now in the transit zones that take priority even over rebuilding in the fire zones. In fact, here in Northern California, where we lost the Hilton Hotel, the fire jumped the freeway back into October of 2017. A Marriott hotel recently submitted plans to rebuild in that area, and they were denied because it was in the burn area.
Wow.
So now we're starting to see denials of rebuilding because it was a burn area. This is the Wildlands project.
In other words, if they say it's a burn area, you don't get a license to rebuild your own home on territory that you own, supposedly the land, which, by the way, we talk about Kerry.
I'm not saying that inclusively or entirely. It was the Marriott that was denied. Now, there are a number of homes.
But there's other cases, other cases too, though, right?
Yeah, well, there are, but it has to do around a variety of things, such as was that house on a septic tank prior to being destroyed? Or was it hooked up to municipal water? There's a number of other aspects. We're still in a disaster zone here in Northern California a year after the fires. And while there are a number of homes being rebuilt in some of the burn areas, we're now starting to see denials, and we're starting to see the focus and the priority of issuing building permits going to transit-orientated buildings which have a smaller footprint and have smaller mixed-use applications involved in the construction project. Again, this is all part of what is stated in the UN Agenda 21
right,
in
21.
the 30 programs, as well as in all of your climate action plans and resilient plans. Now, I've got to get into this. I've just discussed the low E windows. Very important to pass this out far and wide to anybody that is in a situation where they're doing window replacements. What is important to understand, according to the climate action plans that all of our cities globally have adopted, it is required to update all of the inefficient aspects of existing housing, which does include and require windows, and many other aspects as well. Code enforcement will be coming out to your house to make certain that you have provided the upgrades. Now, we have looked at upgrade costs for what they are requiring at this point, which would be cooling systems, windows, weather stripping, roofs, new appliances that connect to the wireless smart grid, certainly new faucet fixtures and shower heads that are wireless so that they can turn the water off under the illusion that we're running out of water, and we're not. But
that's a lot of cost, isn't it? I mean, and by the way, every appliance in the Western world the last 12 years has got a smart chip in it, so you can turn off your washer and dryer, so like when we had Dr. Ole Johansson on a few years ago, so that you can't wash and dry unless they have, say, after 10 or 11 at night.
Well, even worse, Dr. Bill, because of the pulsing of the smart grid, appliances burn out. So any appliances that burn out, you have to suspect that it was a pulsing of your smart meter on your home and your wires. So look at that first. They are pulsing that. You have to keep in mind that the smart grid and the smart water meter grid, both electric and water, are being hacked. Everything is being hacked, and they are most definitely part of all these historical burns that are burning down neighborhoods across not only California but other parts of the world, because they are hackable. This is all computer software-generated information. In fact, I was recently reading in the intention to build more sewer and urine water treatment plants. The concern is the hackability of the operations of these sewer plants, and that they're very, very worried about the computers being hacked, and there being uncontrolled toxic spills in our waterways. So this is just another way of saying there will be uncontrolled toxic spills in our waterways. I hear a break coming up. This is critical. I'm going to get into something really huge when we come back. I'm trying to articulate it. Understand this is a breaking story. It's under larger investigation, and we're working on it. I'm going to do the best I can with this when we come back.
In the last two segments here, Deborah, what's next?
Well, I'm going to talk about the CAL FIRE list of cities that indicate very high fire hazard severity zones. This is not the big story, but it is a very important list because this is a list of target cities set to burn. So my first recommendation...
Are they only in Northern California, or are there also in my area?
No, they're not. This is in California, and I will go over a few of the locations in a moment. But what I
want to know if there's any in San Diego County.
Yes, there is. So hang on. What I want to say to everybody that's listening before I start going over a few of the cities on this list, because you have to understand this is representative of millions of homes and houses being lost.
Right.
Now, what everybody needs to do is everybody needs to opt out of the smart meters as soon as possible. Get them off your homes as soon as possible. California has an opt-out. The utilities will take off the smart meters and replace them with analog meters. Get them off. Okay? Because
they'll cause wires in your home, and they'll cause wire fires inside the walls of your home, and they'll just cause sparking right at the power junction as it comes into your box, or even just local trees nearby or chaparral, so they'll start those on fire and then burn your home down.
Yes. So now I'm going to go over quickly a list because I do want to get into my heavy story where I've had some threats. So I'm going over the fire, burn them up next list. It's the list. Now, keep in mind, they won't necessarily burn up everything, but they will, I believe, because of what the climate action plans say. But they will, in the process, be implementing severe building codes and compliance requirements of all homes that are outside of the city growth boundaries. In other words, if you are in an unsustainable area outside of designated building areas, you will be hit not only with tripling insurance premiums, but then requirements to implement the low E windows that will burn your neighbor's house down and likely your home as well. So breaking in now to the cities for which CAL FIRE has made recommendations on very high fire hazard severity zones. There are 5 cities in Alameda, California: Berkeley, Oakland, Piedmont, Pleasanton, and San Leandro. I'm not going to list them all, but
right.
In Butte County, they listed Chico and Paradise. Paradise just burned.
Right.
I'm not going over them all. El Dorado, Placerville, and South Lake Tahoe. Tahoe will burn. They talk about Clear Lake here in Northern California. Clear Lake has burned many, many times. They talk about in Laston County, Susanville. Los Angeles County, there are 39 cities in Los Angeles counties. Let's list a few of them: Agora Hills, Arcadia, Azusa, Beverly Hills, Bradbury, Burbank, Calabasas, Claremont, Covina, Culver City, Diamond Bar, Duarte, Glendale. Now, in Placer County, there's Auburn and Colfax. In Plumas, there's Portela. Again, I'm not listing them all. I'm talking now about Riverside. Riverside, there are a total of 22 cities. There's Canyon Lake, there's Corona, Desert Hot Springs, Hemet, Lake Elsinore, Moreno Valley, Palm Desert, Palm Springs, Paris, Rancho Mirage, Riverside, Temecula. There's more. I'm not naming them all. Now I'm going down.
That's pretty darn close. It's just across the other side of the 15, Temecula.
Okay, well, here we go. Yeah, they have Temecula listed. I think I said that.
You can see why, because it's Santa Ana winds here, combined with these smart power grids and these E-windows, etc. No wonder they're likely to burn, especially if there's less rain.
With the smart meters. So everybody get your smart meters off. So now I'm going to hurry down this list because I have a big, big story. So then in San Bernardino, there are 15 cities: Big Bear Lake, Chino Hills, Colton, Fontana, Hesperia, Highland, Loma Linda, Rancho Cucamonga, Redlands, Rialto, San Bernardino, Upland, and Yucca Valley. Again, I didn't list them all. San Diego, there are 13 cities, Dr. Bill. They say there is Hidden Hills, Irwindale, La Cañada, Flint Ridge, La Habra, Laverne, Los Angeles, Malibu just burned, Palmdale, Pasadena, Santa Clara, Sierra Madre, Walnut, West Covina, Westlake Village. That nearly burned in the Malibu area recently. Marin, there are 3 cities: Larkspur, Miller Valley, Novato. Mendocino is Willits and Ukiah. Now, remembering the plan to burn up Northern California, which we put out in 2015, we talked about Mendocino burning up. Likely that is on the hit list. I don't see it written here, though.
Right.
But we know that it is there. Likely it's going to burn all the way to the coast because of all of the flammable trees that were literally gashed and squirted with poison by the Fisher, Fisher family out of San Francisco, all environmentalists to burn and take and steal and rob.
Right.
Mono, there's one city, which is Mammoth Lakes, so Mammoth Lakes is on the target list. Monterey, they've got Carmel, Monterey, Pacific Grove.
Carmel, of course, is where the actor that's one of my favorite. Clint is the mayor of Carmel, so you wonder if he's aware of this.
Well, everyone is hearing this now, so take a listen. And Napa, there are two cities, Calistoga, which did burn, or part of the burn, and Yountville, part of the burn in 2017. Nevada City, now I've got to talk about this, Grass Valley, Nevada City, and Truckee. Now, I just went to Grass Valley in Nevada City just a couple of days ago. I want to tell you that the environment is very electrified. It feels combustible because it is. All of the city has...
Combustible, you mean because of the electropollution, you mean?
The electrosmog, the electric pollution. Those people that are becoming more sensitive can start feeling agitation, irritability, itchiness, all kinds of symptoms that are on the symptom list for electromagnetic symptoms on StopTheCrime.net. And we've observed that the town was completely on smart meters, as well as having had the wireless smart meters deployed in the sidewalks as well with the emitters. That town is completely wirelessly wired up. Certainly a play on words.
Well, everywhere is getting wired up. The only thing is the QRS maps that we talk about with Dr. Truatt will block it.
So I'm not done.
And, of course, the less EMF can't be. Please continue.
Yeah, in Orange County there are 20 cities, Anaheim, Fullerton, Dana Point, Irvine, La Habra, Laguna Beach. Laguna Beach, of course, is also under attack. If you type in Laguna Beach and coastline planned retreat, you'll find that they're under a planned retreat requirement, which planned retreat means you allow your properties to be consumed by the seas. Orange County, Newport Beach, Mission Viejo, San Clemente, San Juan Capistrano, Tustin, Yorba Linda. I'm not naming them all. I'm just Del Mar, Escondido, Oceanside, San Diego, Solano Beach, Vista. Now
Vista's further inland.
Okay, so I'm just saying these are.
Yeah, Vista's in the hills, though. And
this is the list. It doesn't matter where they are.
But it does say Vista's on that list there, right?
It is on the list.
Yeah, we had a fire last year where it was on the horizon. About 20 degrees across the horizon was a fire ridge, and if it had crossed the Gopher Canyon Road, we were ready to leave our home, have it burned to the ground, and had to grab our photos and everything last year.
Okay,
that's how close this fire came.
I need to hurry, Dr. Bill, because the breaking story of which I am getting threats still needs to be discussed. But I want to get some of the highlights of these towns. Okay, so we have San Luis Obispo, 4 cities. We have San Mateo, 8 cities. Santa Barbara, well, they already hit Santa Barbara last year or this year as well. We have Santa Clara. There are 6 cities in Santa Clara. Shasta, which includes Redding. They already hit Redding and Shasta Lake. That's on the list as well.
By the way, who put this list together again? Just remind me.
It's on StopTheCrime.net. Please, everyone, you can type in CAL FIRE, list of cities that
CAL FIRE.
Yeah, CAL FIRE. It's a list of cities under CAL FIRE. I'll name a few more cities, and then I've got to get into some breaking information, and I will be expanding on this breaking information in our next show as well. But it is so incredibly entangled and implemented on every level in every government agency.
Wow.
It is absolutely breathtaking.
This is a fire grid coming before Christmas, right? Panel's 375 watts a panel.
Into the other story. And I don't have a lot of time, and I'm going to actually need to work on this on our next show unless we do one that you'll put up on a YouTube for me. Otherwise, if it sits in Dusty Archive, I can't have it sit there, okay?
We'll convert. Well, this show I'm going to convert over the next couple days into a video as well. So we'll put that up.
Tell everybody.
Yeah. Deborah, you have another big story. You have this last segment. Go ahead.
I do. Okay, so I attend a lot of local meetings, as many of you know, and everything that I do talk about is fully documented. I was attending a meeting just only a week ago, and I was scratching my head as I was hearing an accounting firm present year-end finances to the meeting where I was attending. And I was thinking about, and they were talking a significant conversation around the unfunded pension liabilities. Unfunded means there's no money in the pensions. So
Right.
You've got to ask yourself this very, very big question. Why are all the cities talking about unfunded pension liabilities? Well, there isn't the money, whether it was politically stolen, misappropriated, who knows. But they constantly tell us unfunded, and now we've accepted that as a vocabulary for those pension funds being robbed. So then you have to get into the next question, which is where we went. We got into the next question. How is this happening? What type of economic accounting hitman service team do we have infiltrated in every branch of government, all corporate aspects of city management? We're not only talking about in cities and in counties, we're talking about health departments, schools, you name it. Whatever corporate agency it is, they have all signed on to government accounting principle schemes that require a governmental accounting standards. Now, why did this jump up? In the meeting that I was attending, they were talking about mosquito and vector funds. They were being told that the way that the expenses are going, there would not be enough income to fund the type of expected mosquito and vector control unless taxes were increased. And the time span of when they would be unfunded or without revenue was not far off in the distant future.
Right.
When I got up and asked the accounting representative, why aren't you including in your financial plans the climate changes that we're all being told are going to represent enormous economic outcomes and fallout in all of our cities? Where do you have increased vector as a process of increased warming? Whether you want to believe it is climate change or whether you know that, in fact, it's weather weapons or climate control. Where is that additional funding being projected in all city and government agencies? It's not. This is the economic hitman team getting into all of our cities and bankrupting them. This is where and how, after every economic hit that we sustain with assaults from directed energy, weaponized weather warfare, how our cities are being taken down, and how these NGOs and other agencies are coming from other states. We have people here in Northern California that have come in from New York to help with our planning on how to emerge resiliency out of the assaults that we've sustained.
Wow.
Every area throughout this country and globally that is hit with weather weapons is going to have an economic hitman team come to your city and implode you further through your economy. And that is through the required standard accounting practices. And they claim that they are set up to take the ease and the concern away from city council members, school advisors, etc., that they can help with explanations for the constituents to understand why taxes are increased. Now let's talk about some of the affiliated companies with these accounting firms. We're talking about in our area, it's the Association of Bay Area Governments. We know that is an incremental and has been an incremental creation of creating regions so that it's just one control mechanism. We also have, and I can go into this in more detail when I spend more time on this on our next show. It's going to require that.
Right.
Next affiliated is the League of California Cities in association with the cities within the state of California, founded in 1898. And most of the state's 482 cities are represented in the League. The League is all about climate change, creating carbon credits, etc. I also discovered that, and people are behind this. Human compromise is behind this. I found out that in February of 2007, there was a council member out of Grass Valley. Now, I just read to you on the fire hit list, Grass Valley or Nevada City. Well, one of the council members was involved. In fact, I can tell you in one Bay Area, the head of one Bay Area, non-elected, is a city council, a county board of supervisors that's sitting on our local county board of supervisors right now. His name is David Rabbit. For those of you that have watched my YouTube, Plan to Burn Up Northern California, the half-hour version, and we pan through the county board of supervisors, David Rabbit sits there, and you'll see him. Anyway.
Sounds like Alice in Wonderland, only he's the bad rabbit.
Well, I've got to say, okay, so there are many heavy-hitting law firms involved. Kaiser Permanente is involved. Crown Castle out of the UK, the Queen of England, that company that's wrapping us with wireless is involved, okay?
Crown Castle is the author of 5G, aren't they?
They are. And we've got Southern California Electric, that's Rothschild. We've got Walmart. We've got Climatech, Wells Fargo, and Smart Cities Prevail. We've got we're wrapped around so tightly with accounting principles in all of our cities that are going to bankrupt every single city and massively increase our taxes. Again, we have got another company called Energy Upgrade California, and it's a statewide marketing and education outreach promoting energy management concepts. And we've got the California Public Utility Commission, again, all Rothschild. And we've got Energy Upgrade California, believes that we can power California better with autonomous vehicles and all electric. This is the move. They are literally chopping us below our knees on every single level. Every level. We've got Johnson Controls, Inc., and it's a global company offering products and services to optimize energy and operational efficiencies of buildings, automotive batteries, electronics, and interior systems for automobiles. We've got Kaiser Permanente. We've got the Northern California Carpenters Regional Council. Okay, you're going to get your low-E fire-creating windows. They're all part of this. Make no mistake, this is not a mistake. We've got Richards, Watson, and Gershon is a widely recognized premier full-service law firm. Remember, law firms have bar cards. They're all part of the Rothschild team of gangsters holding British accreditation, Regency cards. This is how we are being taken down with law firms as well. They go on to talk about Schneider Electric. And it says they enable capital recovery and reinvestment, helping publicly funded entities make comprehensive infrastructure improvements through exacting facility audits and business case. They guarantee utility savings and cash flows. Smart Cities, Southern California Gas Company, Siemens is involved. Siemens, of course, is a global takeover corporation. We've got Union Pacific Railroad involved. Walmart, as I mentioned earlier. We've got Walmart, they say, was founded in 1962 with the opening of the first Walmart discount store in Rogers, Arkansas. The company incorporated as Walmart Stores, Inc. in 1969. The company's shares began trading in 1970 and were listed on the New York Stock Exchange. We have a takedown of the largest corporate structures entangling themselves into all the accounting practices in all of our cities. Make no mistake, this is a planned hitman inside all of our cities. This is huge, and I've been getting some threatening calls about discovering this, our team that discovered the entanglement through the
So the financial takedown is tied to bad practices that increase the chances of fire, devastation of property, and the inability to rebuild because of the insurance and everything else going on, right?
That's absolutely right. And they talk about wildfires, seismic events, erosion, mudslides, and other disasters, which they are creating. It is weather on demand.
It sounds like the fire Grinch, who's red, not green, is arriving.